everybody, it's Romania Black, and I am not over the last episode. I'm having to record ahead because I am gone for an entire week in April, and so I need to record ahead to be ready for my trip. But I'll be honest, I've taken a couple days to think about episode 6, and I'm still reeling from it. It doesn't seem real that Dimple's possibly gone, and it's just I went back and rewatched the episode, and it's just such a somber episode by the end of it, right? And just the idea that Dimple didn't want Mob to have to think of him going away like he did, and all the things that he's done throughout it, and then Mob in the end, like, thanking Dimple for everything he did for him, and for sacrificing himself to save him and his friends and family, and it was such an episode, and it's probably like, I've thought about it a lot more than I thought I would. I've just been at work being like, Dimple's gone, and so my only hope is that maybe he comes back by the end, but maybe not, and maybe this is part of the last season, is Mob finally growing up and realizing that he can do things on his own, because honestly, the people that have helped Mob out his entire series here have been Dimple, has been Reigen, has been Ritsu, has been Teru. Sarazawa, I wouldn't really count Sarazawa. Sarazawa and Mob are kind of on equal footing. Sarazawa is just the adult version of Mob. But yeah, Ritsu and Teru and Dimple and Reigen have been his 4 main helps throughout this season in this series. And so Dimple kind of, Mob being like, hey, Dimple, we were friends, but I'm moving on. Like, that's been one step. I feel like Mob has separated himself from Reigen already, though. I feel like in season 2, Mob separated himself from Reigen, saying like, hey, you're still my mentor, but I'm moving on. And I feel like he's done that with Dimple now. And so I guess the next progression would be for Teru and Ritsu, for Mob to be like, I can be my own person. I feel like this season is all leading up to him confessing to Tsubomi. That seems like the thing for them to do, but whether or not she accepts it, because Dimple's warned him about her, but at the same time, Dimple admired Mob because he wants to try, so I hope it goes well for him. I really do. But I don't know what to expect now. I really don't know what to expect now. I feel like we've closed a big arc of this season, and I don't know what to expect. It's been such a creepy, uncomfortable ride, and it ended so somberly that I really need some good feel-goodness in Mob Psycho, because I'll be honest, this season so far, episodes 1 and 2 were really funny, but 3, 4, 5, and 6, well, 3 was funny too up until the end, but 4, 5, and 6, that arc was pain, and I need some feel-good now to gear up before we get to, because we're really at episode 7. We're over halfway through the season. My heart, y'all, my heart. But we have the Reigen Thirst update to talk about before we dive into this season. Let's be real. I have a lot for the Reigen Thirst update. Like I said last week, I had so many fan art pieces that I had to carry them over into this week. I did want to go ahead and say that I am going to be, once episode 12 is over, I am going to review the following week the Reigen manga. There's been some people in the Discord wonder if they're going to make it into its own OVA. It'd be cool if they did, but we're going to go ahead and look at it anyway, and if they do animate it, then I'll react to that as well. So, but just in case, I do want to look at the Reigen. It's only 1 volume, I've been told, so perfect. We'll look at that after episode 12. I really like this fan art from, like, Space Galleria. It's not fan art, it's official art from Space Galleria. They were doing a collaboration with Mob Psycho. I really like this collaborative art here. Mob is in the little suit with the green tie. It's Dimple green, and Mob's always had a green motif, so I'm like, that's so cute. But he's got his little business cards, like he's learned from Reigen, now he's ready to move on and do his own thing. It's great. I like that both Teru and Ritsu are like class presidents. They're like class, they're on the class committee. And also I like that Teru has yellow. I like Teru has a yellow color. That's really cool. And he has spoons in his pocket. That's really cool to talk about him bending spoons. He also has like a cute little cat on his eraser on his pen. And I would like to believe, my headcanon is that Sho gave him that. That's my headcanon. I also love Teru. In traditional Teru fashion, he's the only one pulling off a blue tie with orange polka dots. He's the only one I know that can pull that off, and kudos to him. But he's also like a class officer. And then Dimple has like the Argyle tie. We're looking really cool with the curly Q hair. Classic. And then I like that Sarazawa in a tan suit. I love seeing Sarazawa in a tan or a navy suit. It looks really good on him. But I like that he's, of course, freaked out as always. And then what is Reigen with this blue tie? What is Reigen with this blue suit and blue tie with the elbows rolled up, the sleeves rolled up, the tie put down, and the shirt, the jacket thrown back like Mappa, not even Mappa, Bones. Bones just conceding to draw Reigen as sexy as they can. And I said in the Discord, I was like, oh look, he's brought fast food for everyone. And everybody in the Discord was like, that's salt. So Reigen's just got a bag of salt that he's wheeling around. Classic. But I really like that piece of official art. I think that collaboration is really, really cool. And everybody else apparently in the fandom likes that official art too, because again, Reigen with the rolled up sleeves, the blue tie, the gold Rolex, like looking fine, our Reigen Arataka. I am here for it. It is a Reigen thirst update this week for real. Also, speaking of Reigen thirst, I love this screenshot that says alone on a Friday night. It's so damn funny. It's so damn funny. I love it. Alone on a Friday night. It's absolutely hilarious. I love that so much. Absolutely wonderful. So funny. I love it. But no, Reigen is not alone on a Friday night because he has Serizawa. Duh. I'm in love with any fan art that includes Serizawa and Reigen in the suits, with the ties, with scarves, and with Serizawa's umbrella, like shielding the both of them. I live for that. That's just absolutely wonderful. I love it so much. And then this artist here, again, Cade Art, just loving the meme, the Sailor Moon meme where Reigen's like, my work here is done. And Ritsu and Mob are like, you didn't do anything. And he just sachets away. It's so funny. That meme is perfect on its own, but applying Reigen as Tuxedo Mask, yeah, it seems legit. Now we just need Serizawa as Serena and we'll be perfect as Usagi. But then I have a few more pieces. This last one is the last classy one for the Reigen Thirst update, and it's Mob and Reigen with their little bow ties and their very Victorian-looking outfits. I think Mob looks really good in, like, Victorian style, like the three-piece suit, but it's, like, the nice crisp vest, and he has, like, the crisp sleeves or, like, the big giant cuffs. Like, I think Mob looks best in that kind of Victorian style. He has, like, the boy shorts. It's very cute. And then Reigen, I love that his bow tie looks like a little sprout. They look like leaves. It's kind of cool. It's very different, and I like it. And also, Reigen pulling off the glasses. Pulling off the glasses, looking super debonair. Very all for it. I love it. It's great. But this last piece, I'm going to forewarn you, if you are not a fan of crack ships or you are easily disturbed, this might be a time to just kind of shy away for the next 30 seconds. Because I was shared this in the Discord and I had to have this planted in my brain. And now you get to have it planted in your brain. Because someone shared on here that apparently Suzuki and Judo is a ship somewhere. What? Why? Why? Have they had interactions? Have they had any interactions together other than like glancing at each other? I'm all for a crack ship, but they got to have at least a significant interaction. They have to have at least one significant fairy tale-esque modern Hollywood fairy tale interaction to make it worthy of a crack ship. Have they even seen each other? I was like, no. And they were like, now you have it in your brain forever. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I had to look at that. So now you have to look at it too. But that's the Reigen Thirst update. I thought that those were very, very good. And I've got more already ready for next week. So hopefully we will continue having a thorough, plentiful bounty of Reigen Thirst leading up until the end of the series. But yeah, after last episode, I need some happy good times. And I don't know, Mob Psycho's either going to do it or it's going to be a fake out. And they're going to be like, happy fun, not so fun times. And I'm like, I don't want a whole season of angst, but it is the final season. So what can we do? But we're going to start episode 7 of season 3 of Mob Psycho. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Well, this is exactly what I was looking for. All right, moving forward, that is a big theme with this season and this series, and moving forward and becoming part of anything. But I like that Tomei is like having regrets about her middle school experience and that she hasn't got to make like the kinds of memories that she thought she wanted to make. And so this episode's really cool. It feels like it had a very OVA feel at the end where when they went to like the spa and the winter hot springs. It feels kind of like that, only this is like a trip for them all to go together. I'm a little bit sad about Serizawa, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit. I was like, oh man, but whatever. My shipper self is a little bit sad, but I'm glad Reigen has something to do, right? I'm glad that is the case. But so let's talk about this episode and just dive right into it. We have basically the exams coming up. So it's crazy to me to think that 8th graders in Japan, a lot of them take entrance exams into various schools depending on where they are. I know that like in other anime, there are things like called elevator schools or escalator schools that like you go from elementary to middle school to high school. That's pretty much the US system. The US system is like an escalator school from elementary to high school, and then college is a whole different thing. But it's cool to see that like even 8th graders are deciding like which college, which high school do they want to go to. And Tomei is concerned about getting into the right one. And so she brings up the idea about, I like that behind her on the board it says, you can do it if you don't give up. Like, oh, the Body Improvement Club, they're out like running in the winter breeze, like soaking it all in, right? And so Kijibayashi and I will be graduating in 3 months, which is the big tall guy with the spiky hair. And then Inukawa is Mob's age, and the other guy with black hair is Ritsu's age. And she's like, we're going to graduate in 3 months. And that's kind of crazy. Like in 3 months, they're graduating. That's not very long. And it definitely gives the series a sense of time passing. So Saruta and Inukawa are the two that are going to be left with the telepathy club and Mob. But Mob is technically in the Body Improvement Club. So she's like, we're going to probably disband if we don't find new members. Doubt we're going to find any new members. I also like that the guy on the poster for like the Body Improvement Club back there kind of looks like Tanizaka a little bit. Just a wee bit. And I like that she's like, we aren't going to make any memories. Like she kind of has a little bit of a Reigen vibe where she's like moving her hands around a little bit. Tomei does. But I like that she's like, I wanted us to make like memories of finding UFOs and finding telepaths and doing things that, our club was supposed to do. And in Inukawa, he's like, well, we have made memories. We've hung out and played games and chatted. And I kind of get where Inukawa is coming from, because I remember from my own high school experience, I mean, a lot of my memories from high school are us just in study hall, like doodling drawings and telling weird stories and like goofing off. Like there's so many memories about that. But for Tomei, she's like, no, I want something bigger. I want something more memorable, right? She's like, I want to look back and remember something more special, and we've not really done that. And I like that the guys are kind of like, wait, we were serious about all this? Like, yeah, they finally admit, they're like, oh, we thought this was just for fun. And she's like, oh my God. Like, Tomei's like, are you freaking kidding me? I've spent all this time. And she really has, like, even from season 1 on, like when she was looking originally for the telepaths, she was having Mob help her go out in the city, and that's when they stumbled across, the members of Claw. So she has been trying to find him this whole time, and her crying, it's like the big stereotypical trope of the third years crying when they're leaving. And she's like, we've made no strides in telepathy research. And I feel like Tomei is realizing that with these entrance exams, she's come to grips with the idea that she's going to have to try and work a lot harder when she gets into high school. And she's like, the days of our youth, the days of our innocence are slowly passing by. And she's like, I don't want to lose that. I want to take advantage of it and like make some good memories. And she's like, I can't do that if you guys don't help. So she's realizing that she's growing up, like Mob is realizing too. And she's like, I want to make some like childish memories and goof off before things get harder and we're all adults. And I can't blame her. It's a very mature thing for her to come to grips with, right? Like, I feel for Tomei. She's like, this is the only chance we have. And Inukawa's like, well, why don't you just do it in high school? And she's like, I'm going to continue this as a hobby, but I want to do this all with you. I like that she's like, yeah, I can continue with the occult and the telepathy club in high school, but it's not going to be the same. We're not going to have this group of people ever again, possibly, because we're all probably not going to the same high school. So she's like, I want to take advantage of what we have now because I like our dynamics and I like our chemistry as a group. I'm sad that I'm going to have to leave that behind. And that's such a genuine, relatable feeling. especially when you have like a group of people you really gel with and it's something temporary, like a team or a club during school or in high school, like something you know isn't going to last, but works so well. That's so sad. And my heart goes out to Tomei in this episode because I'm like, I know exactly what she's talking about. She genuinely wants to savor these last few months with these guys because she knows she'll never get that again. And it's really, really heartbreaking. And I like that you see slowly like the tape of the Body Improvement Club like coming off of the door frame there. She's like, how do you all feel? I want this to be special. And I like that the boys are like, she has this big heartfelt emotional moment. And she's like, well, don't you guys feel the same? As like she has the red lines in her eyes from crying. And the boys are like, yeah, we feel the same way. Sure. Well, what do we do in Serata? You go first. And he's like, so telepathy. Like, what was the goal? Like, these guys are just bros. Just bros. And Tomei's like, oh my God. And I love that her like disappointed exhale where she's like, it was just like a billowy dragon's breath. It's amazing, right? And she's like, I'm disbanding the telepathy club. And they're like, is she serious? Has she been serious this whole time? What should we been doing? And so then they're like, maybe we should try reading the books that she put out here for us. And it's Telepathic Communication, Pursuing the Mysterious Aliens, The Principles of UFOs, Explaining UFOs, Signals from the Sky, Ancient Aliens, and The Mystery of Aliens. Like, yeah, they're like, maybe we should have paid more attention to her. It's like, oh no. So yeah, I like this. So transmission, sending this out. For the record, can I say the fashion of Mob Psycho since we've ditched the monkey shirt has gone up in spades. Like, everyone looks great in this episode. I want some of these outfits. My favorite is personally Ritsu's like white hoodie with the bomber jacket over it. I can't wear white. It will get dirty in 5 seconds. But I'm like, dude, he is stylish. And Mob's just sitting there kind of dazed off. And so we established that Ritsu's kind of worried about Mob because it's been a month. It's been a month since Dimple has like left them, and Mob is still kind of sad about it. Like, he's kind of melancholy about it, and Ritsu doesn't exactly know what to do as his brother. Like grieving is a hard process, right? And Mob seems like he's okay and okay spirits enough, but Ritsu understands that he's not feeling himself, and grieving is a difficult process. And Mob's just kind of like, it's like he's accepted it, but he's not happy about it. And Ritsu knows there's nothing he can do, but he still wants to ask, right? He's like, and there's some guests waiting outside for you. I like Mob's little geometric jacket that he says. He's like, it's been a month since Dimple stopped showing up around here. He's like, are you still thinking about it? And Mob's like, oh no, I was just spacing out. And I'm like, were you? Were you just spacing out? And Ritsu's like, okay. I don't know. I feel like Mob is still sad about it. I also really like the Serata has the puffy jacket, and Inakawa's dog jacket. He has really good varsity jackets, like they're called varsity jackets, and Inakawa has the one with the dog on it, but then he has one in the next part that's like got purple and bones. It's so cool. And then the oldest one, he has like the ripped jeans and like the big puffy cardigan and the scarf. It's really cute. Like, I like all of their fashion. Bless Inakawa, though. Nobody wants to talk on their phones anymore, and Inakawa's over it. Like, I felt so bad for Inakawa in this episode, because he was like, I just want to talk to everybody, and nobody's listening to him. Nobody's answering their phones. Phones don't work well in Salt City, basically. It's hilarious. And they're like, can we use your powers to use telepathy? And I just love how open they are with Mob at this point in the series. They're just like shaking him, being like, come on, and they call him reliable and everything. And Mob's like, I'm not a telepath. And I made that mistake in episode 1. People were like, Romania, he's not a telepath. And I was like, okay, sorry. But he's like, we need to take the memories of our youth seriously. He's like, what do you mean? And then we have the anime playing, and Tomei-san quit. And he's like, I can't use telepathy. And they're like, oh no. And Ritsu's like, well, I know some people that can. And even Mob is surprised by it. Mob's like, what? You do? And it's Daichi and Kaido. So I'm glad we get them involved. And so they say our telepathy only works between us. So that's a caveat. They can only use telepathy between the two of them. And that's kind of that's their limit. And Ritsu's like, oh crud, yeah, about that. Forgot about that. But they're like, if there's someone who can receive our telepathy, then it might work. And so they basically talk about how they can emit this sound that's like a ringing noise in some of theirs. Like, it's like when you make like a dog tone bell and only dogs can hear it, like a dog whistle. And they're like, well, I guess we could amplify it and see if we get anything. And it's like, why don't we hold a meeting in the club room? And so Mob basically is saying they're going to amplify it. And so they can amplify it like up to like 500 meters. And so Mob's going to help them like amplify and make it stronger. And it does start to work, but he's like, I can do a little more. And Ritsu, I like Ritsu is established as being a more cautious one that like Mob's kind of enthusiastic about it. He's like, okay, yeah, let's just keep using a little more power. You can do it. And Ritsu's like, whoa, let's hold on a second. Like Ritsu is the cautious one, right? I also like that this establishes that Ritsu cares about others. Like, because Ritsu comes off as a tsundere a lot. Like, he wants to seem like an edgelord. And he's really not. Like Ritsu is actually very concerned about other people. And he wants to make sure that they're comfortable. And so I like that he openly, like, tries to make sure that Daichi and Kaido are okay. And because he's like, you don't need to push yourself so much. And they're like, but we've got to try. And then, like, it gets to the point where the others start to feel it. And that's when the door opens up. And then there's this guy in the most 1993 outfit I've ever seen. Like, I don't know if you were born in the US, they had these little cups. They were like called little Dixie cups, and they had geometric shapes around them in the 90s. They were that exact color scheme. And that's all I could think about the entire time watching him. I'm like, Teru. When I first saw the outfit, I was like, oh, it's Teru. He's a telepath, is he? And then, nope. But Teru would steal that outfit from him in a heartbeat. He is like if Teru's fashion met Ritsu's hairdo is like what it is. It's like the Roger Federer of telepaths. Takanaka, there we go. And he was a former member of the telepathy club. And then he left. Yeah, he got sad and left because he expected to meet others like him in the telepathy club, and it didn't work out. And so now he's in the tennis club. He's like, but we've got club even during winter break. So yeah, so he tried to find something else to do, and he played tennis. I love throughout the episode he just sits there and like picks at the net. It's a cool detail. It's really neat. He's like, we've been forced to run laps outside in the miserably cold weather. And then he's like, why are you complaining about the most basic thing? He's like, I snuck away when I found a chance. And then he's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to figure out where that damn noise is coming from. And so I like Inukawa says, it seems like you're really one of us. And it's like, well, he is one of them, but not like your side of the table. I like that the table's split in half. You have the non-psychics and the psychics like on either side. And that's when they talk about finding people in the telepathy. And he gets really rude for a second, but it is like Bakugo level of denial, right? Of projecting and trying to like act it out, right? He's trying to act like it's no big deal, but on the inside he's like, what the heck's going on? And yeah, he tries to play off and he is like, gets all sneery and everything, and he doesn't look like himself. Like, he just gets kind of rude. He's like, this is why people say the telepathy club's full of weirdos and creepy people. Like, he just acts, and at this point in Mob Psycho, we have seen many functionalities of acting and psychological mishaps in this show. And so by this point, we're all looking at Takanaka and being like, dude, you can lay off the act. We get it. You're the telepath. It's fine. You can admit it. Welcome to the psycho helmet religion. We're here for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that Inukawa says lay off. And they tell him to leave. They're like, if you don't want to be here, go. But he doesn't immediately leave. He just sticks around. And Ritsu's like, what the heck? And so they're like, okay, well then we'll just try while he's warming up. And I love that it just like the noise gets louder and louder. And he's like, why are you so serious? Like, he tries to play it off that it's not affecting him, but it is. And it gets more and more. And he says, aren't you embarrassed? And they're not. And he just can't take it. He's like, will you guys knock it off? And they're like, why? What's wrong with you? And then he can't take it anymore. I'm glad he didn't turn out to be a total antagonist right off the bat. Like, at this point, he like gets really upset. And I love the animation on him. It's really good. Bones does a great job. And knock that shit off. Yeah. And then he gets mad. I love it. Like, I also love that we see what's happening around town. We see the other members of the psychic group. They're like, like all the psychic energy, like the noise, which Mob and Teru aren't affected. So does that mean that Sarah Zhao and the others are telepathic? I love Sarah Zhao and then Reigen's like, oh, whatever. That's really cute. I like that. So he discovered when he was 5. And what's really sad is that it's a gift that he was born with, but it allowed him to discover like what his teacher was really thinking, and then what his dad was really thinking, and then we see like it caused his parents to split up because he said something that he shouldn't have. That would in itself be enough to ruin like your entire impression on an ability like that. He said, I figured out it was something I wasn't supposed to do. And that's really sad. He's like, I can hear other people's thoughts even if I don't want to. Yeah, the older I got, the louder it grew, and the larger an area I was attuned to. It became truly unbearable. Yeah, the idea of being able to hear everyone's thoughts, whether you want to or not, would be absolutely awful. And so it's like, yeah, and the fact that it caused such a disruption in his own family is really, really hard. And so he says, I think that it was when the 3rd grade I was willingly able to project my thoughts. So he was able to tell somebody to like return something or take something back. And so he says to relieve stress, I would yell at somebody every day and freak them out, right? And they're like, that's how you lived your life? And he says, I don't do it anymore, Inukawa. Yeah, it's kind of freaky, and it makes a point. Like, and to prove his point, he's like, I don't do it as much, but people just think I'm abnormal. And the one guy in the telepathy club like says, this dude's scary. Telepathists are not normal. And I'm like, dude, you've been around Mob this whole series. You know it's perfectly fine. Like, why are you being like that? But even being around people like Mob, and they didn't even know Ritsu was a psychic until this episode, which is funny that they had no clue. I mean, it's easy to be scared of the unknown, right? And this is an example of that Takanaka is something that's unknown to them. And so they're instantly like shunned from it. And he's like, right, I heard what you were saying. He's like, I heard what you said. He's like, it's true, I'm abnormal, but you don't need to worry. I figured out a way to shut out everyone's thoughts. He's like, I'll just put earplugs in, and then I don't have to worry about it. But I still end up hearing that super loud noise. And I like that Mob and Ritsu are kind of off to the side. I like Ritsu's turned away from everybody. Like a lot of the insecurities that Takanaka has, I don't think Ritsu ever even considered. He wanted those psychic powers so badly. And here you have someone like, because Mob just goes about his day and he's like, everything's fine. I don't have to use my psychic powers, but if I do, cool. Like, I consider them a gift. And he's very optimistic and positive about it. Whereas Takanaka is an example of somebody who's very negative about his ability. And I think for Ritsu, that's kind of refreshing and kind of different to find somebody that genuinely hates their abilities and is vocal about it. Right? And is very vocal and communicative about it as well. And so he's like, why are you guys, like, you were never interested, were you? And so Inukawa's like, yeah, but, and I get that Takanaka's like, I don't want any more bad experiences with telepathy. And Mob, that's when Mob comes in with the Care Bear stare of Nakama and is like, oh, well, but don't you want a kindred spirit? Like, don't you want to, like, be around somebody else? He's like, wasn't the reason you joined was that you thought you'd find somebody that was like you? Like, don't you think that was it? And I love that pan from Mob over to Takanaka. Like, that pan, that, like, shift over in the screen, that was so good. I loved that. I was like, oh, that's great. And he's like, yeah, that's right. But it wasn't what I was looking for. It was just a club for people obsessed with the occult. And my hopes of finding someone else like me basically faded away. And Mav is like, he's like, I have no intention of you guys using me for the sake of making memories. But that's kind of, and I understand his point there. I definitely agree with Takanaka. I'm like, being used because you have this power, which was kind of their original intent, is not cool. But I like that Mob's like, look, no, it's not, we're not using you, but we want you to become a part of it. Like, you want to interact with people like you, well, here's your chance. Mob's really open about it. He's like, if you think that's how it's going to end up, then you don't have to join us. But that's not really what you think, is it? If you have no interest at all, that is. And he's like, what are you getting at? And he's like, I get sick of my own power too. But it's a part of me that I can't get rid of even if I try. If I think if there's someone with that power, it might be fun to accept them every once in a while. And I love that, like, the light shines on Mob, like a true cult leader. The light shines on him and everything, and he's like, I think it might be fun. Like, just, you know, do it. He's like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, you know how I feel. I'm like, well, Mob's a special case. We followed him a while. He's kind of his own person, you know. And Mob's like, but this is how I feel, though. And I love that he stands up to Takanaka. Like, he stands up to him being like, look, this is how I feel. I think it'd be cool if you joined us. Come on, don't be a spoil sport. Like, Mob is just instantly, like, he's gotten so much more charismatic and communicative, right? So zen. And Takanaka, and I wonder, you don't see what's happening and you don't hear it, but it's almost as if Takanaka is looking at Mob and thinking of his thoughts and realizing how genuine he is. And he's like, son of a bitch. Maybe. He's like, I can't stand the thought of you all admitting that noise again. That would be really awful. So I'll help you out just this once. And then, yeah, they're all like, I like Ritsu's just like, really? You're a lifesaver, Takanaka. Thank goodness. I love that Daichi and Kaito are like, good, we don't have to do this again. Great. But then Ritsu, he says, Takanaka-senpai, did you read my brother's mind? And he's like, oh, you're Liz's little brother now. Oh, who knows? He says you have some complex about not being on the same wavelength as your brother, which is so true. Like, he can instantly read Ritsu. Like, Ritsu, I think what he wants to know is Mob okay? Is he still not over Dimple being gone? Is he concerned? Is he distressed? Ritsu is very concerned about his brother. And like Takanaka kind of nails on the head, he doesn't like the idea that he can't understand what's up. So even though he doesn't read his mind, I like that that's the case. And he's like, even with the earplugs in, I can get the gist by looking at someone's eyes. Which is a very good skill to have, but I'm wondering if he's going to get the gist about other things by looking at people's eyes. I wonder if that's going to be the case. I don't know. I want to keep things like that special. And he's like, okay, what do you want me to do? So we go to the spirits and such. I like there's a cafe now included, so you know that Reigen's getting all like the cafe stuff to sell in his shop as well, or getting coupons or gift cards or something like that. And so he goes to this spiel about hydration and the special tea, and he does all the Reigen, he poses and everything, and it's really cute. And then sends them on their way, right? And I love these, like, Reigen's like, oh, I hate winter. I am 100% with Reigen, though, when he's like, my body feels heavy, and he's like, I don't feel like doing anything when it gets this cold. I'm with Reigen. I don't like winter. Winter is just like, I do not like it. Nope. I don't like being cold either. And so I like that he asks what Serizawa is doing, and he's doing math. He's like, I need to finish it during winter break. It's like, aw. And so I like that Reigen says, oh, winter break, huh? It must be nice to have things to look forward to as a student. And so he asks him if he wants to go out for some drinks, which I was like, okay, that's cool. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. My friends from school and I are having a year-end party today. Oh, today. Okay. So he's having a year-end party. And, okay, a part of me, the shipper in me was like, oh, I thought it was like a New Year's party. I thought in the reaction he said, we're having a New Year's party, and it was going to be later on. And I was going to be like, oh, you can't invite Reigen to it, but he, like, it's a year-end party today. And so, I get, the shipper in me wanted him to invite Reigen, but the reality is, like, there probably isn't going to be friends from outside the school at this party, so of course it makes sense for Reigen not to go. Right? And Reigen takes it all very much in stride. He's like, oh, I see. And he's like, and then he like answers the phone. He's like, hey, Mob, what's up? And then he's like, New Year's Eve plans. I've got nothing booked yet. You're going to visit some shrine or something? And then he's like, Mount Mudboat, UFOs. I like Reigen tries to plan it out. He's like, fine. And I like that Reigen's like, or Serizawa's like, oh, good. He has plans. He's not by himself. Because I think Serizawa felt bad that he didn't invite Reigen, but it wasn't something he could really invite him to. So I think he's glad that Reigen has plans so that he's not alone. That's sweet. I like that. And Reigen says, oh, I guess I'm going to go see the year out looking for UFOs. And these brats really just called me to get a rental car for them. Because you got to be, I don't know how it is in Japan. In the US, you have to be 25 to rent a car. And he's like, damn it, why am I going to be a babysitting on New Year's Eve? And it's like, you grumble, but you know you like it, Reigen. You're happy you're not alone. And then Serizawa saying, I'm happy for you, Reigen-san. Oh. I still ship them. I still ship Serizawa and Reigen hardcore. It's just, they're just doing different things for New Year's, and that's fine. They've not known each other for long. The huge year-end blowout exorcism sale. For a limited time, ring in the new year with a smile with our bargain courses. Leave it to Reigen Taka. Our bargain year-end plans come with a coupon for the new year. There's like a little dimple drawing. Dang it. So Mount Mud Boat. And we get Tomei. So Tomei has an apartment to herself, which is interesting. She's like, I've got cram school during winter break. And they keep bugging her to go. I freaking love Reigen waking up late. Like, looking up, being like, I slept great. And being like, it's out of batteries. You gotta be shitting me. I am with Reigen. I am the world's heaviest sleeper. I set like 3 alarms to get up in the morning. I'm not lying. I'm a heavy sleeper. Once I'm asleep, I am out. And you are not waking me up. So relatable. If I did not have a dog and 3 alarms, I would not probably get up. But I like that Reigen is so, like, making this a teachable moment. He's like, I always tell Mom how important it is to be punctual. And I feel the same way. I'm like, be on time. And so if I'm running late, I'm like, I tell my students to be on time. What am I doing? I'm setting a bad example. I definitely can relate. I freaking love it. And luckily for them, they are late finding Tomei and waiting for Takanaka. I love it. And so I love it. I was like, why didn't you answer your phone? And she's like, oh, my phone was broken. I didn't notice. And Inukawa was like, how do you people not notice? Use your phones. Get them fixed. What is happening? It's great. And so, yeah, they stick around. And then he shows up late. Takanaka comes late. And so they're like, we've been making him wait for a long time. And that's when Takanaka shows up and said, I overslept. Now, here's the thing. I think that they like each other. I think that Tomei likes Takanaka, and I think Takanaka likes Tomei, and neither of them want to admit it. Either that, or Tomei had a crush on him, and he figured it out by reading her mind, and was like, shit, and like left. But I think they have a thing for one another. I could be totally wrong, but I think that's the case. And I just love that he's like, I'm a telepath, and she's like, what? I love she doesn't believe him. She doesn't believe he's a telepath. I freaking love it. I love that she is not convinced. I'm like, but he can speak to her into her mind. But I think that he hasn't because he doesn't want to freak her out. Because he likes her. Oh my gosh, that's great. And I think when he ran away from the club, I think the thing about it was he realized that she liked him or was saying something in her head. And he heard it and he was like, crap, I can't do this. Which that would be really hard. Being a telepath and being in a relationship with somebody would be very, very difficult because you'd always hear what they're thinking. And that could be dangerous. So I think they like each other and they just don't want to admit it. Mm-hmm. But I love that they just all like get up and grab Tomei and go. And they don't even give her an option. They're like, let's just hurry and meet Reigen. Like they're running like an hour late. It's great. He may have got mad and gone home already. And I love when they show up. He looks so cool standing there, but Reigen is in fact like drenched in sweat. Like, we're sorry, we're late, master. I like that Takanaka is like on the ground. I'm like, Takanaka, you are a tennis player. How are you the one that's on the ground with Inukawa? How? Unless it was all just for show. But I love that they like go. I love Reigen in the blue. It's like that official piece of art. I love him in the blue. And they're like, we're sorry, we're late, master. And he's like, oh, don't even worry about it. He's drenched in sweat. He's like, it's New Year's Eve today. Let's take our time. And it just says he arrived 2 minutes before. Freaking love it. So Reigen has this little van. I love that we see the bus. He has this little car. And I love that mom riding shotgun. It's so funny. He's like, please make sure to drive safely. And he's like, don't talk to me for a while. I freaking love it. Freaking love it. And then it shows them like, why did you oversleep on such an important day? It's great. And Reigen thinks that for a second it's about him talking. He's like, oh shit. But yeah. He's like, I had a hard time falling asleep. Were you hearing too many voices again? Oh. So, and he was like, no, I was just nervous. It's been a while since I've done anything like this. Like go out with friends. Uh-huh. So yeah, I feel like he's nervous because he likes Tomei, and Tomei is acting all like, I can't believe you guys are lying to me about him being a telepath. Like, I think they like each other, and it's just not, like, it's, oh my gosh, because she still thinks they're trying to trick him. And Serrato's like, oh my God. And so it's like, you're approaching your destination. And Reigen's like, oh, is this it? It's going to be a pretty rocky road ahead. I can't imagine what could possibly be happening on this mountaintop looking for UFOs. Can't imagine. But this episode was so cute. I really liked this. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad it was a little bit more lighthearted. It was lighthearted, but had just like a little hint of melancholy. But I can do a hint of melancholy, right? I can do it. And it's adding on to that idea of growing up and transitioning and moving forward. And I'm very excited to see what's going to happen on this little outing with Reigen and the kids. So, and I like Takanaka so far. I like him. I like his character. I didn't think the first 5 minutes we met him, I was like, oh, I'm not going to like you at all. And now I'm like, no, I like him. I think he's got a lot more under the surface than he's letting on. So, we'll see, right? But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Mob Psycho Season 3. Bye.